Fellows, welcome back to the More Than Average Men podcast. I am your host, Michael Benton, and you are listening or watching to episode 14. Thank you so much for joining us, man. I really appreciate it. We're episode 14, man. It's crazy to think that time is flying by and we're this far along in the podcast series. I was just thinking to myself, like, man, I feel like I just started this a couple weeks ago, but things are going great, man. I appreciate your guys' continued support and showing up for the show and leaving a review and hitting me up on social media. So I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for tapping in again. So this particular podcast episode, man, it actually derived from me journaling this morning, and so let me share with you a little bit about that. So on the weekends, and I told you guys this before, but definitely on the weekends, I journal every morning. Whereas on the weekdays, I may go a couple of days without journaling in the morning or whatever, right? And so this morning, I usually will ask myself, "How are you doing?" Right? And I'll pose it just like that as a question, and then I'll respond. I'll put whatever it is I'm feeling. But this particular response today really caught my eye because I started off by saying, if I remove any of the ambitions and my wants, my desires, my needs, things that I lack, things that I don't have, the place where I'm not at currently, I feel amazing. I feel grateful for being given another opportunity at life, for my health, my kids' health, so on and so forth, right? And it started to make me think, like, that is not the typical response. When most people are asked, "How are you doing?" a typical response would be, "Oh, I'm maintaining, another day, another dollar. I'm doing all right. Things are good. I'm doing pretty good. I'm maintaining," things of that nature. And so we kind of get those types of responses. And I was starting to ask myself, like, where do these answers derive from? Like, why aren't these answers that we're getting like, "I'm doing amazing, everything is great, I'm positive, I'm blessed to be here," like all of that? Like, how come we don't get that particular response? And it's not even so much the words that the people use, but more so like the conviction in their tone or in their voice, right? The affliction that they use that leaves me to believe that a person is either A, really doing amazing and they things are going great, or they're not really doing that good as they say they are, right? And so I started just kind of pick up on that. And what I've come to realize in our answers is our answers come from our future wants rather than our present moment, right? And it had me focus on a lot of our focus is on our desires, and a lot of our focus is on our ambitions, and a lot of our focus is on things that we don't have and things that we lack and the place that we're not be and the person that we aren't and that we don't have enough, and I'm not where I want to be. Like, those are where our answers are deriving from, but we've done it so subconsciously that that's how it just flows out, because we're not putting any thought into, like, thinking beyond where we aren't and the things that we don't have. We don't think about, okay, where am I at? Like, and currently in this moment, am I doing great? Like, am I excited or happy for where I'm at and the life that I have right now and the life that I'm moving towards, right? And not so much about what I don't have and where I'm not at. And you're going to realize that this particular podcast or this episode is really going to be more about kind of a combination between, being in the present moment and utilizing gratification and things of that nature. So bear with me. But yeah, so what I had to do is we answer this question in our lives, on our day-to-day, in the perception of lack rather than what we have and what to be grateful for. And so anyway, it had me really curious as to what would it look like to be present every day. What does it feel like to be present, right? What is it sustainable? Meaning, is this something that we can do every day for however long, right? And so I started asking myself these questions. What does it feel like to be present with where I'm at right now and who I am and what I have? And so that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about. So the first question that I asked myself was, again, what does it look like to think and act in the present moment? And what I came up with was being focused, being aware, right? And being fully engaged. I think a lot of the times, when we're in conversation with someone, and you guys have all been there as well, but, when we're in conversation with someone, usually we're probably thinking of other things while they're talking, right? You ever find yourself in a situation or when you're having a conversation with someone and they're talking to you but you're thinking of whatever else? Oh man, I forgot to take out the trash. Oh shit, it's Sunday. I got to go to work tomorrow. My wife asked me to do these things and I forgot, or whatever is rumbling through your mind. And then, and you find yourself just like nodding, right? Like you can hear them talking and then they stop talking and you're like, oh yeah, yep. And you're not really cognizant of what they really said. And then they're like, so they ask you a question and then you're like, oh, I'm sorry, what'd you say? You know what I mean? Have you ever done that? Because you're ruminating, right? Like there's thousands of thoughts just kind of going through your head and you're not present in the moment. You're not aware of the situation around you. And you're not fully engaged in whatever it is that you're into because your mind is just thinking of 1,000 different things. And so, the topic of being present and really working toward, being grateful for the life that we have, I think is really a super important topic to talk about because again, I definitely still find myself where, I'm it's just kind of like the mundane, right? Like you think of it like this. When it comes to being grateful, right? Why don't, like if I were to ask someone like, hey, like you should be, aren't you grateful for waking up this morning? And usually they may not say this, but what they'll think is, well, listen, man, I've been waking up for the past 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years. Like it's normal. You know what I mean? It's just an everyday thing. I've seen hundreds and hundreds of thousands of sunsets and sunrises. Like it's just another thing. I've seen my kids go to and from school for X amount of years, like it's clockwork, and that kind of astonished me because it was like, do you fully grasp like how the magnitude of what that is and how you're training your mind to think, to be in a position where we take for granted, maybe, right? Take for granted our position in life and like the ability to be of existence in this life, and the ability to wake up. Like I said, we've done it for so long. It just seems like it's the norm. This is what normally happens. I normally wake up every day, right? And obviously you're one of the lucky ones because there are people out there that don't have that luxury anymore, right? And, it's like, I have full functionality of my body. Like that's just normal. That's what's supposed to happen. I'm supposed to have full functionality. I'm supposed to be healthy. I'm supposed to, like we just become so complacent in the idea that we are given these gifts and we take them for granted. And then when we don't have them, that's when things change in our mind, right? And then it's like, if you have all of your ligaments and then all of a sudden you lose an arm or you lose a leg, now it's like, man, I'm super grateful for, for the time I did have in having all of my ligaments, or, I'm whatever, right? It's like, now if you would have, now granted, you probably still would have lost that limb, but why wait until what you don't have becomes a problem, or it becomes, kind of in the forefront of your mind? Why not do it while you have everything that you have? You know what I mean? Because I think that by us being able to recognize us being present in the moment and being grateful for the things that we have and where we are, it will relieve stress and it will relieve anxiety. Because I know I walk around, I told you guys this before, but I'm super hard on myself. And so I'm always like constantly like trying to get to the next level. You know what I mean? Like trying to get to the next step. And I know that's a good thing and a bad thing, right? And so I guess it depends on what your level of focus is on that, and what you tell yourself and how you make yourself feel in that circumstance. But just slowing down and being more present and being aware that, hey, listen, I'm moving towards whatever it is I'm moving towards, and it will happen, right? But as of right now, in this present moment, things are great. I'm alive, right? I woke up and I have the opportunity to better myself and to better my family. You know what I mean? And that's usually the prayer. That's probably the exact prayer that I say every morning when I wake up is, good morning, universe. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to wake up to better myself and my family. And thank you for keeping us safe last night as we slept. That's what I tell myself every morning. And then I usually go into 3 things that I'm grateful for. But so that's one thing or one way that I try and stay present and really just, try not to overlook what has been given to me that could easily be taken away. You know what I mean? And then I ask myself, is it sustainable? Like, can I sustain being present every day? Is that doable? And I definitely do think that it is doable. And what I would tell you is don't allow yourself to be controlled by your thoughts, right? You can choose to not be attached to your thoughts in your head. And this is where, where I was talking about where you're having that conversation, but you're thinking something totally different. So, a good example or a good way to kind of visualize this thing is, if you're just sitting here and you just have this thought come across your head, right? Just this thought come across your face. You can see it. And the thought says, oh, you're going to be late for work again, right? And then immediately you attach yourself to that thought. You attach your feeling and emotion to that thought. And now you're feeling down on yourself. You feel like you're calling yourself a lazy bum, and you're always late, and you can never be anywhere on time, and your boss is going to do this, and these are the circumstances that are going to happen. And you're attaching yourself to that thought, right? And that's happening every day. You know what I mean? So and I'm going to mention this a little bit later, but there's some things that you can do in your daily life that will help you mitigate attaching yourself to those thoughts. Listen, we have anywhere from, 60,000 thoughts running through our mind every single day, right? And so this is something that you're going to have to work at. It's not something you could just pick up, you know what I mean, and not think of anything. But there are some tools that I'll mention later on that can get you to slow yourself down and not having to attach yourself to every thought that comes through. Because once you attach yourself to one thought, your body is like, oh, okay, well, there's a stimulation between your feeling and your emotions, right? And so let me throw some more stuff at him. So once you start thinking about how lazy you are and how big of a procrastinator you are, and you can't do things right, and this doesn't go right, and this is happening, blah, blah, blah. Now you start to notice now other thoughts are coming through, right? Similar thoughts that create that similar type of effect of the feeling and the emotion. And so I think it's super important that we try to be more present in our day. And I'm not saying that we lose sight of our ambitions and we lose sight of our goals, and that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we typically end up focusing on what we don't have, the things that we lack, and we totally lose sight of what got us here and the ability to wake up and how far we have come and the changes that we are making, and we lose sight of that. And so we always operate from this lack or not good enough mentality. And that always typically leaves us having the answers of, oh, I'm doing okay, it's mediocre, it's another day, another dollar, oh, I'm here, I'm alive, you know what I mean? And there's not that love and that conviction, like, that passion. And so, yeah, I thought that was super interesting. I'm going to read you the definition just so we're all on the same page in regards to what it means to be present. So it means that we are aware and mindful of what is happening at this very moment. We are not distracted by ruminations in the past or worries about the future, but centered in the here and the now, right? And that's super important, centered in the here and the now. Because again, it's easy to get distracted and you start ruminating about negative things, and you're worried about the past, and you're starting to worry about what hasn't happened yet, and and then your day is ruined, and you're putting yourself in this hole, right? You're digging this hole, and you're digging it for yourself, right? Because you're the one that's attaching yourself to these thoughts. And so there are things that you can do to help yourself not ruminate and not attach yourself to these thoughts. So that way, and I'm not saying that every day has to be merry and you're going to be lively and full of energy and rambunctious. Like, listen, life is 50-50, right? You're going to be throwing some things that are going to create some pain, and and that's just what it is, right? But you don't have to live there. It doesn't have to be your everyday life, right? It doesn't have to be something that you become accustomed to. So again, let me kind of go over. So here's some tools that you guys could use that will help you stay in the present, or practice being present. Practice allowing your thoughts to just pass by and not attaching them to them. Obviously, meditation is one. Sitting in silence is another thing. Breath work is really good as well. Yoga, right? These are all things that can help relieve everyday stress and anxiety and worry about where you're at in your life, or where you're at not in your life, what you don't have, desires, things of that nature. So, if you haven't practiced those things or tried those things, hopefully you're open-minded to trying those things. Journaling is another thing. And again, you're going to hear me talk about these types of tools because I personally use them myself. And so I'm a big proponent of them, and they work. And, again, if you haven't tried them yet, I would urge you and suggest you to try them. You know what I mean? Like, it ain't gonna hurt anything. I mean, you're already at where you're at. You know what I mean? If you're looking for more positivity and you're looking to advance in life, and you're looking for more peace and happiness and joy in your life, then you might start wanting to incorporate tools that have had great impact on folks that are feeling those things and are living that type of life that you want to live. And so, again, I'm not saying don't think about your ambitions, don't think about your goals, don't focus on where you aren't at. What I'm saying is you need to prioritize those things, right? So, look at your goals and prioritize where you are. And if you're still on track, on whatever basis you feel is necessary for you to do that, whether it's a weekly basis or bi-weekly or a monthly or quarterly or whatever you need to do, remember that you're working towards them is the key thing, right? You're working towards them. You're doing what you need to do to move towards the life that you want, or if it's materialistic things, move towards those things and purchasing those things, or whatever that looks like for you. Just give yourself some grace that that you're moving towards them. And it's not about, I'm still taking stride. I'm still moving towards those things, but it's still, it's not enough because I don't have it right now, and that's going to leave you in that place of not feeling like you have what you need to have. And, but yeah, man, like that just kind of came across my mind when I was journaling this morning. And, for me, I try to do my best to be present. Like I said, I don't practice yoga or meditation as routinely as I'd like. It's very sporadic. Journaling is probably the most consistent thing. Affirmation is probably the second most consistent thing that I do to keep myself present. To remind myself that, hey, I'm in a good spot. I have good health. My kids are healthy. All my extremities and limbs work. My body functions properly. I have a roof over my head. I own my own home. I have a car to get me to and from work. Like, I have all these things, and to remind myself that I don't want to take those things for granted, because they could be taken away at any point in time. My life could be taken away at any point in time. And I don't want to, for me anyway, I don't want to, go out, being in a position where things weren't where I wanted them to be, and I wasn't happy with life in general. And I wish that for you guys as well that are listening and watching, is that I hope you guys, really just slow it down a little bit as far as, your mentality, and really give yourself some grace and listen, bro, you're making strides. You're moving towards where it is that you want to move to. And if you're not, this is obviously a good opportunity for you to start incorporating those things, right? If you aren't moving in the direction you want, and you aren't getting the things that you want, okay, well, let's do something about it. Let's make some changes. You know what I mean? So that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about. That was really on my heart this morning, and it was kind of, again, something that I wanted to share with you guys, because I think it's something that you can easily put on the blinders, and that's a typical response. And if you ask anyone, if you go out there and you do an experiment, go out there, this weekend or next weekend or whatever, right? And just ask 15 people, how you doing? I guarantee you, majority of those responses are going to be what I said, right? They're going to be very mediocre. There's going to be no conviction in their voice. And they're going to be like, oh, that's good. Doing great. And you can tell. I mean, if you're a people person, you can tell when someone's like, that person isn't really excited. You know what I mean? Like they say they're happy, but they don't look that happy. You know what I mean? But if they have more gratitude in their life, if they incorporated more gratitude, if they really step back and really was cognizant of that they have life, that they have health, that they have, full use of their body and their extremities. I mean, I personally think that would be something that would be like, I'm doing pretty good. I have a roof over my head. I got a car. I got a little money. I get a deposit in my checking account every week or every 2 weeks. May not be the actual job that I want, but this thing is helping me pay the bills. It's helping me put food on the table for my family. I'm pretty grateful for that, right? It gives me, and those things give me an opportunity to change things for myself for the better, if you want to. So, I hope you guys take something from that. I hope you guys take something from every episode that I do. And again, as I encourage you guys, if you have any questions or if you guys are going through things yourself, please shoot me an email at bentoncoaching@gmail.com. I will address your question on the upcoming episodes. And if you guys want to chat with me, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube or wherever, and we can have a conversation. But again, I appreciate your guys' support. Click that subscribe button wherever you're watching or listening. Please rate the show. And I will, as I always say, I'll see you guys on the next one.